Hello, we are the team number 4 and we're going to present our video about the coastline in Mexico.
Coastal ecosystem is an area where land and water come together. Coastal ecosystems provide habitat for a wide variety of marine plants and animals as well, as provide resources and homes to humans around the world. Coastal ecosystems have distinct and recognizable landforms such as beaches, cliffs, and coral reefs, which are highly vulnerable to disturbances. Coastal regions represent some of the highest biodiversity areas on the planet. Coastal ecosystems include highly biodiverse marine communities that vary depending on local topography and climate. Examples of a coastal ecosystem include bays, estuaries, mangroves, salt marshes, and wetlands. One of the important coastal region facts to know is that they provide the setting for many human activities like fishing, agriculture, textiles, recreation, and tourism. Coastal cities are also home to millions of people and have been the focus of international travel and tourism for centuries.
Biotic and abiotic factors. It exists like many biotic and abiotic factors, but I'm going to say the most important factors. Temperature. The temperature of a geographic area affects the temperature of the water that are found of its coastal regions. Factors. Temperature. The temperature of a geographic area affects the temperature of the water that are found of its coastal regions. Sunlight is one of the most basic building blocks of life on Earth, which also makes it one of the most important abiotic factors. Examples for all ecosystems, including coastals and marine ecosystems. Because water blocks sunlight, the area of the ocean that is most capable of supporting life is the coastal ocean zone. Soil. While you might not think of soil as one of the more important abiotic factors in a marine ecosystem, many of the coastal ocean regions' plants grow rooted in the soil. Now, biotic factors. Um, Producers. In all ecosystem, producers make up the bottom of the food chain. They use abiotic factors like sunlight, water, and soil to create their own food by photosynthesis. Herbivores, a set of consumers eat producers having evolved to eat and digest plant and algae matter over the flesh of other animals. While herbivores ensure the producer population do not grow rampant, carnivores hunt and kill other creatures in the consumer destination.
The food web. Basically, a food web is a map of all the traffic interactions in an ecosystem or a community, and those are predator-prey interactions, who eats whom, and so on. The food web is one of the most important representations of interaction in an ecosystem because the main passage of energy through that system is produced, is consumed, and everything runs on that. As this example shows, we can see that the primary producers are, for example, the seaweed, and the top carnivores are, for example, the shark, dolphin, among others. Primary producers make up the basis of a food web. Phytoplankton, seaweeds like kelp and seagrasses make their own food by converting energy from the sun through photosynthesis. Consumers cannot make their own food, so they need to get the food from other sources. For example, rays eat shellfish, crabs, and fish, but it turns out that rays are eaten by sharks and orcas. Another important but often overlooked part of the food web is that the decomposers, they like bacteria and the organisms break down dead plants and animals, releasing the nutrients back to the ecosystem.
Implication of human activity in the ecosystem. One of the biggest, even though the coastland in Mexico is very important to the country, there are some problems that affect these beautiful places. One of these big challenges is the contamination, which brings some consequences in different areas of the country, like biological, economical, political, and social. We will mention some of these consequences and how they connect with each other. Biological. One of the most relevant implications is the sargasso. This is a macroalgae that covers big extensions and moves according to the ocean waves. Specialists think that the possible origin of this is the contamination, which leads to the increasing of nutrients and temperature. Also, it's important to mention that the most important problem of this area is the excessive trash waste in the beaches. We see that at least 90% comes from humans. This problem is even worse than the first mentioned, but habitants care more about the sargasso. Economical. On the coasts and seas of Mexico, important economic activities are carried out, such as the extraction of petroleum, the tourism, marine transport, ports, aquaculture, fishing, among others. Also, it's important to mention that the tourism is fundamental for the country growth in Mexico. In 2017, 90% of the PIB comes from this activity. It is not a secret that our country receives a lot of travelers all around the globe. Even though it is important to mention that some of these economical activities are a big challenge for the sustainable development in the coast areas.
Political implications. Due to the necessity to keep the coastline clean, the federal government and the national politic of seas and coasts work together to take care of the coastlands, resources, and life in general in these areas. The government has a diversity of instruments for the preservation, protection, restoration, and sustainable usage of the marine and coastal biodiversity. The application of the activities mentioned are carried out by the Semarnat, SEMAR, CONAPESCA, CEP, and SCT. Besides, the territorial ordering of the management of seas and coasts want to improve the conditions of life of the populations who habitate there, strengthen the local economic, and preserve the coastal and marine ecosystems based in a clean and sustainable economic process. Social. Thanks to the economical and human activities carried in the coastline, these places have become growing in a messy way, generating deterioration, contamination, overexploitation of the natural and fishing resources, and even conflicts for the available spaces and resources. All this has damaged the health and the quality of life of the local population.
Now we got some proposals for the protection of the coastline ecosystem. Roughly 80% of life on Earth depends on oceans and coasts, while more than a third of humanity lives in coastal areas or on small islands. Recent studies about the threatened state of our oceans serve as an important reminder that there are small and tangible steps that each of us can take to help reduce our impacts, like to reduce your plastic consumption. Plastic waste forms giant floating islands in the middle of the ocean, releasing toxins and killing sea life. Uh, the first proposal is to dispose of chemicals properly. Never pour chemicals, pharmaceuticals, oil, or paint into the drain or toilets. Properly dispose of or recycle chemicals and keep them out of rivers and oceans. The second proposal is to choose environmental-friendly detergents and household cleaners. Besides being better for your own health, these products are safer for the environment, since what goes down the drain can end up in our oceans.
The third proposal states for us to research whenever we are going to beach holiday retreats before staying in a specific hotel on the coast, usually. Ask the staff what happens to their sewage, their trash, their swimming pool water, and asks where all these wastes end up. So basically, you just need to know if the source of all this trash is it's not damaging the environment, and also the source of the food you're eating it's from a sustainable source. The fourth solution is finding out, investigating where are we getting our food from. Buying from local organic food reduces the carbon footprint in general, supports the local economy, and reduces the amount of pesticides and fertilizers that end up not just in our stomach, but you also prevent it from going later on the rivers, oceans, and water bodies.
Okay, so this is all. Thank you for your attention.